folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead, the prepared homestead. So today is just a rant, I think. Kind of fired up. And a lot of it has to do with this stuff going on in Virginia, which I'm pretty sure most of you know what's going on, or at least have heard about it. And the more I read and the more I think about it, the more it just gets me fired up. Not so much the specifics, although that too, of the gun-grabbing politicians in Virginia, but more so of just the question of what's happened in this country. I also want to give you a quick update on something that's going on out there in Virginia, another news update, and this was as of making this video, so things just keep coming out quite a bit, and I'm sure there'll be more. But the governor of the state of Virginia has announced that they're looking at plans of how to cut off utilities, basically electricity, internet, phone service, to the counties that don't comply with these gun laws. And that really got me thinking that, you know, what kind of governor in the United States would actually contemplate doing that to his own people? You know, I'm not new to the whole political activism, or I guess you could say, you know, being aware of what's going on. I've been woke for a long time. I started in political activism back when I was a teenager, in some, you know, pro-gun, Second Amendment type organizations and groups. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth, was on the gun issue. So I've been around for a while, you know, more than 2 decades. And I've seen several things happen in my lifetime, even though it's not as long as maybe some of yours. But I've seen some good and some bad things happen when it comes to the Second Amendment. But I think what we're seeing in Virginia isn't just this radical, aggressive attempt to circumvent our Constitution, to circumvent the natural and inalienable rights that you and I have that aren't given by the government. The Constitution is there to, the Bill of Rights specifically, is there to protect those natural rights. But it's even more than that. You know, at what point did we start electing people that actually make these threats, even if they don't follow through with them, that would make a threat like that to his own people, to his, you know, there was a time where you were proud of the state that you were in, and there was almost more pride in the state that you lived in than there was the country that you lived in. And so it really blows my mind that there is a governor out there that is actually threatening his own people, threatening something that could actually, you know, cause the loss of life for some people, because they have a political agenda. And I think that what that tells me is that you and I need to become even more aware and more aggressive in our you know, researching this knowledge and more aggressive in our own stance, because it's obvious that they are very aggressive. It's obvious that this isn't just about some little political agenda for them. It's not about simply passing a bill that maybe some lobbyist group is trying to get going, or, you know, because they're being paid off or anything like that. I mean, there is a true hatred there on the part of many of these people that are pushing these agendas. There is no possible way that you could say some of the things that are being said and not hate the people that you're saying them to. You know, when I was involved a lot more in politics years ago, I got to see a lot of the insides of how the political system works. I was involved in some passage of bills. I went to the State House often. involved in some of the back room doors and rooms, and got to see things really close up of how things work. And let me tell you this: the liberals, the far left, the hard left, the communist, however you want to say it, they're not stupid. I hear people, and I think I've probably said it before, they'll use this argument, well, you can't, banning guns isn't going to end crime. You're just taking guns away from the law-abiding citizens. They know that. And they're not banning guns or confiscating guns to actually deal with crime. They're not stupid. They know that it will not affect crime. They know that it will make crime worse. They're doing it because they want to control. They want to have absolute control over us. Do you think that Stalin and Hitler thought that confiscating the guns would actually make the country safer? No. They did it because they knew that they could not have absolute control over the people if those people had arms to defend themselves. And that is the reason why they're doing this. This has nothing to do with making the world safer for the little children, or to prevent one more child from, dying at the hand of a firearm. It's not about that. They don't care about that. There's a lot of ways that they could go about making things safer in those respects. They don't care about your safety or your children's safety. And I think it's a sad day that this nation has gotten to the point that we are making threats to our own people. Threats that could end in violence, threats that could end in death, just to push their agenda. And what it shows me is that they have become quite serious, very emboldened. And I've said this for years, that they're becoming much more emboldened in their agenda to socialize and communize our nation. They want absolute control over us as a people. They're not going to just stand by and allow this little, friendly banter between, two parties that, one gives a little and the other gives a little at times. They're not okay with that anymore. For whatever reason that they feel now is the time, they have become quite emboldened in this nation, everywhere. And I believe that Virginia is a testing state, a battleground state, and whether or not they actually get all these laws passed, and whether or not violence actually erupts there, one thing you can know for sure is that they are standing by and watching what happens in Virginia and how we react to it and what they can actually get done. Virginia is their guinea pig right now. And I guarantee you there are several other states that they have lined up. Like I said, these people are not stupid. They have more money than you know what to do with. They have all the intelligent people doing all this research for them. They have plans like you would not believe. And this plan to bring liberty and freedom to its knees here in this nation has been going on for decades now, for I would say well over a century. And they just now recently feel that they are powerful enough to finally stand up and to start really pushing their agenda. Before it was like, cooking a frog slowly. A little bit here, a little bit there, and, we might moan and complain about it, but in the end, we just kind of, well, it's government. But it's not that way anymore. They have kicked the heat up a lot. And I think they're pushing to I think in the end they feel either they'll win by just getting everything passed that they want, or they will start some type of violent revolution. And I know many of you have commented that, well, bring it on, because there's lots of us gun owners and stuff, and that is true. But don't think that those people in Virginia are just going to be going against National Guard. They're going to be, standing up against federal troops. They're going to be standing up against federal officers and agents that have much, much more technology and equipment than any of those individuals or county officials have. And you can very well bet yourself that there will be international troops there also. This will not just be a local event. Nothing in this world is local anymore. So it's not going to be anything, like I said, it's not going to be anything like civil wars and revolutions of the past, where you have, you know, local people fighting local people. It will not work that way. And they have an agenda, and it is radical, and they want it to happen now. For whatever reason, they feel that they need to hurry it up and get these things going. And you can see that through their radical illegal immigration policies, where they're just pushing for more illegals into this country. They're pushing to allow them to vote, and they're very open about it. You know, back 10, 20 years ago, things like that were talked about in whispers, but nothing was ever admitted publicly. And today they talk about it publicly, right in front of the TV cameras. They have no fear whatsoever of you, and they have no fear really of your guns in the end. So, because they believe no matter what happens, that they will prevail. And I think that we're starting to see, you know, kind of a new chapter happen here in the United States with what's going on in Virginia. And I understand that there's been things like this in the past, where there's been standoffs, and there's been, you know, radical legislation try to get passed and sometimes get passed. But we're seeing government officials that are threatening to do harm to their own state, openly threaten that, openly threaten to cut off parts of their state that would, you know, possibly cause harm and death to people. They're openly talking about calling up troops and using those troops against its own people. These are things that conspiracy theorists have talked about for years, but we have politicians, sitting politicians on TV now talking about, promising, threatening to do those things. I'm telling you, and I could be wrong, but this is getting serious out there. And you and I need to take notice of it. And if you are not prepared in your life, in your heart, and in your home, you better start getting prepared really quick. And I'm not the type to get on here and hype things up and talk about fear. But what I am telling you is the things that are happening right now, especially in Virginia, are something that we should all be a little worried about. I had a commenter yesterday or the day before said it sounded like that I was afraid of Democrats. I'm not afraid of them, I guess, but I do have a fear of what could happen. I think that it would be the mark of any intelligent person that would not want to have to engage in a physical conflict with anyone. You know, I don't go around searching out a fight. I don't go around hoping for a war or for an Armageddon, but I am prepared for one. And while I'm not afraid of a Democrat or a liberal or a communist or whatever you want to say, and really the end is that it's, you know, it's not even about communism or liberals or Democrats. It's about controlling us. And they don't care if you're a Republican or independent or whatever. It doesn't matter. But do I fear it? It worries me, because I have a family and I don't want my children to have to see this. I don't want them to have to experience it. But what we do is we prepare for it, and we do the best we can to make ourselves ready for it. And I think it would be, any wise man would be a little worried and apprehensive of what may be heading our way. But when it happens, when the bullets start flying or when the violence starts happening in the streets, that's where the men part from the boys, and the men are ready for that. And so I hope you men and women in your homes are ready, because the chances of it happening in our lifetime are starting to look really good. And the chances of it happening in your children's lifetime, I'd say, are almost a guarantee. This nation cannot continually go down this road. There's just no way possible. History continually repeats itself. And history has shown that this path that we are on always leads to collapse. Always. It always leads to collapse. The reasons why we haven't collapsed so far is because we're artificially supported by the technology and by the creation of fictitious money and things like that that we didn't have necessarily in the past. So it's why we have, kind of held on as long as we have. But you wait and see, this illusion of a world that we live in will come crashing down, and those that are in power, this oligarchy, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they have a plan already in place. They're ready for it, and this is, I can guarantee you, what's happening right now is all part of their plan. So I know today's video might sound a little extreme to some of you, but I think it's some things that we all need to be talking about. And I do believe that we have, turned over a new chapter in this political, cold civil war that we're experiencing here in this nation with what is happening in Virginia. And I would say over the next few days, and especially the next few weeks, will kind of put us in whatever direction that we're headed, because it's looking pretty crazy out there. And so a lot of the comments and the people that are communicating with me that actually live in Virginia are pretty much confirming that it's the people are gearing up for something out there. All right, folks, get yourselves ready. You may not have as much time as you think you do, so start preparing. Prepare your mind, prepare your home, and prepare your heart for what is possibly ahead of you. All right, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.